goals, as far as the season goes. How important is that for just a coach to understand that and, make that part of trying to finish the season?
I don't know. I never was in that position. You'd have to ask them how they feel about it, the players. But I am aware of it. We try to celebrate everything that they do and have done to let them know that it's, not just about the win. I think basketball can become boring when it's just about one thing. And we don't want it to be that way, even though the ultimate goal is to win. And we feel like winning gives you everything. But I also feel like players, when they dream about basketball, they dream about winning and they dream about being an MVP and all defensive team and all-star. And I think that's a good thing. It's all part of it.
And as far as Cam, is he playing or not?
No, he's not playing.
Okay. He was talking yesterday about getting the strength back in the leg. He's like, it's a process, it's gradual. You can see it's frustrating him, but he understands the process of it. How often have you had to talk with him just about, be patient here and work back to when you do get back on the court, you'll be right.
I try not to hit guys with too many things to think about when it comes to injuries, just because I don't want them to feel pressure from me to get back on the floor. I'm aware of how much our guys want to play, and I'm also aware that when you're not playing, you feel somewhat detached. So the last thing I want to do is add to that. My way of going about this is just, cracking a joke on them when I see them and making them feel like dirt every now and again, just to let them know how much I love them. That makes sense. But I think every player in our locker room wants to play, and when they can't, it's a natural tendency to feel like they're not involved. And the last thing I want to do is add to that by asking, when are you coming back? What's going on? That kind of thing. I just try to treat him as if he was, in the rotation and doing his normal thing, even though he's not.
And the last thing I had was just when you're playing, obviously the Warriors steps out, but everybody else is pretty much there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all know the importance of Curry, but just the challenge of tonight, knowing that Draymond, Clay, the young guys we talked about the other day, how that is going into a game like tonight.
I think for us, it's always about respecting who they are, what they've done, but also playing to our standard. And I think that served us well. When we've had guys out, that's what we talked about. And we still have, a couple guys out. And so it's always about that. At the same time, when you watch the film, you see same ball movement, same shot making. Draymond's back, so he's playing like a .45. And so, you're taking away a generational talent from their team and one of the best to ever do it in Steph, but the way they play is still the same. And the way they play at home is a challenge for everybody. So we know we have to play to our standard while respecting who they are and what they do.
Hey, Monty, good to see you. How do you see Chris coming along after coming back from his long injury with his thumb?
He's been good. I mean, from game one in Denver, I think he had 17 and 13, and his ability to manage games was evident last game for sure. When the game got to like 3-1 against Philly, he just came in and settled us down. He still has to develop the capacity and his conditioning to get to where we want him to get, where he wants to get, but he's been Chris. He was diligent in his rehab, and I watched him every day we were in the gym together, just doing stuff that no one will ever know about, but he was working his tail off so that he could get back to playing that way and wouldn't have this huge gap in between being out and where he needs to be. I think he shortened that gap with how he worked while he was out.
Well, I guess you don't want to share much, but is there anything that gave you that clarity?
Nah, I mean that stuff is all in house. But his work ethic is second to none. Of all the, I don't know who's the hardest worker I've ever been around. I hate when people do that, but he's at the top with a bunch of other guys I've been around.
Beyond the obvious work that you were mentioning that he was doing, what was he doing behind the scenes with the guys while he was out?
I mean, I don't know. You have to ask him. I just know that with me, a lot of conversation on the bench. When I leave the arena from in Phoenix to get to my house, he and I would talk, and he'd give me a couple of ideas, things he saw, and I do that with a few of our guys on the way home. But it was a lot of talking when he was out, which I really value, just because I know his intentions are to help us, help me, help the team.
Monty, you talked throughout the course of the season about Landry and his intentions being good, plays so hard, wants to win so much. Do you feel like in the last 2 or 3 weeks he's kind of settled down and settled into like what he can do for this team and what you want, what his teammates want out of him?
Yeah, I think if he didn't have to play with Torrey Craig, he'd probably be a better player. But Landry's, he has the same attitude that he had when we were in Philly. He's just more experienced and a better player just because of the experience. But his intention is, I think it hurts him at times because he wants to do well, but he also wants to please everybody. And sometimes you can get trapped in that. And we've had to kind of push him to be somewhat of a doofus, you know, and just go out there and hoop. And I think you have to have some of that to play to your potential. And within our system, we felt like he would, you know, have some success, but I think it's taken him up to this point to get to where he's free to do it. And when you have that many people, coaches and players telling you every day, like, bro, go hoop, go, do it, you know, whatever, I think it took him a minute to figure that out. Now he's just out there playing. And, you know, I still think there's more there on both sides of the ball. When you watch him closing out and defending, that's the guy that I saw in Philly who wasn't afraid to stick his nose in there. The flagrant foul he got on James Harden last game, like that's the guy that can play at a high level on top of the offensive shooting and passing and playmaking.
Hey, Monty, I got some other stuff on Chris, but different topic, more big picture along the lines of how, you know, he's in the top 10 of assists, and we obviously know how great of a passer he's been, but when you compare him to the other guys in that top 10, what makes Chris unique as a passer and playmaker?
It's a tough one. I mean, if you look at that list, it's hard to say. I mean, Stockton had like the same guy the whole time. I think Mark, Jason, and Chris probably did it the same way in that they've done it with so many people. Not to take away from John Stockton, he's, you know,
Right.
those guys are, I can't even think that way. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't that kind of player. So you asking me that is like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, what is it like to be Jacques Cousteau or something? Like, I have no idea what it's like. I just know I'm grateful for it. But I'm the wrong guy to ask those questions, man. My last 5 years in the league were 1-year deals, okay? Like, I got no shot at trying to figure out what it's like to be Chris Paul.
Fair enough. I guess more along the lines because you've coached him in different stints. I mean, I guess with this next question, do you have like any favorite passes of his over the years or just series of plays that stick out to you the most of all the amazing?
Nah, it's just too many. The thing that I value more than anything with Chris is when somebody else makes a play, he looks at me with the same joy as if he made the play. That's what told me a lot about him. You know, he can make the pass and look right over at me, and you can see it in his eyes. But then if somebody else makes the play, he does the same thing. He'll look over at me, and I can tell, like, he's so happy for whomever it is. I think that's been the difference that I've seen since I've been a head coach and having him. He just cares about winning, and he wants other people to do well. At the same time, he wants to do well himself, but he's happy in both situations.
I just had a quick follow on that. He was saying the other day how whenever you call a play, he's like, I'm not even worried about it. I know that this is a good play. What's that like knowing a guy that knows the ins and outs of everything, saying, hey, when coach calls a play, I don't even worry about it because I know that play is going to work.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you have maybe the greatest point guard of all time that feels that way about you, like, how do you put that into words? I mean, I'd be doing him a disservice with answering that without having enough time to think about it, I think. I would really need time to ponder that question to answer it properly, if that makes sense. I don't even want to do that topic a disservice by trying to answer it in this platform. I don't think that'd be right.
Gerald on Zoom.
Hey, Coach, since Steph's been out, Jordan Poole has really stepped up to scoring and kind of been their leader in that regard. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the challenges of stopping a scorer like Jordan Poole.
I mean, he's, right there with all the top scorers in the league. So, case in point, like, they're all hard to stop because they do it in so many ways, at the rim, in the mid-range, from three, the body movement. The tough part about Jordan is he's learning how to play like Steph. He understands that when Draymond has it at the top and he's close by, that's a quick DHO or a quick pass and screen. Whereas, last year I don't think they played as quickly in that environment. I think the corporate knowledge that he has in this program has allowed for him to be an even better player. And he's like a lot of the top players in this league now, top scorers anyway. You have to give them different defenses and be as physical as you can to the legal limit to try to limit their looks at the basket.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.